and welcome to another edition of For Those Who Believe. And this podcast is for all the sons and daughters of the Casa. And today I'm so happy. We've just been having a little chat there with our beautiful brother, Greg Palmer, who is in Iowa. We were just talking there. The sons and daughters of the Casa are all over the world, and you have agreed to come and talk to us about a different experience that you had at the Casa. A lot of people tell their stories of healing or why they came. But I want to ask you, Greg, and we get stuck in straight away because there's a lot of information coming down the tubes. Um, how did you hear about the Casa? I mean, that's where I met you. It must be at least 15 years ago.
2013.
Wow.
2013.
So that's the first time you were there. So that's, um, well, 12 years ago. My God, that's amazing. So
Yes.
how did you get to the Casa?
Okay, that's a good question. So I can back it up a few years from there. Um, in 2011, I uh, I remember speaking with my mother, and she was transitioning. She was in bed, and I had just sung Schubert's Ave Maria to her. And of course, she was my greatest fan. She would always tell me things like, "You have such a beautiful voice," and I would, I know I had a nice voice, but I didn't really appreciate it the same way that she appreciated. A mother would appreciate her little baby that had grown up and become a singer. But she would always have a different take on it. So I sang her this song, and then she kind of faded into this premonitions type state where she said, um, "You're going to do great things with your voice," and this was in 2011. Um, so I didn't know what to make of that, um, but I went on, and it
Hmm.
wasn't it wasn't long after that that there was a clairvoyant healer that came to town, and I talk about this on my website. His name is Denny Unger. He's from Pennsylvania, and he's a really jolly man, and he would just be able to see what's going on. So I went to him a couple of times, and he worked on some small things that were going on in my physiology, and uh, and then I thought my wife could enjoy him, Carol, and you've met Carol, Grania.
Carol, yes.
Yes, a wonderful English lady who's now
Gorgeous.
here. We've been married for many, many years. Um, she uh, she she wanted to go see Denny, so we went and we booked a session with Denny, and she told me, she said, "You need to sing to Denny," because I had started opening up to this, appreciating my voice as to that it was a gift. And I actually started to love it and appreciate it to the point where I could actually say, I have a beautiful voice. I mean,
Mm.
prior to that, it was like, that sounds too egotistical. I have a beautiful voice. But I actually appreciated on a very deep level that this was a gift and I needed to do something with it. So he said, "You need to sing to Denny." So we went to the session. Um, and before we went in, he puts you on the table and he relaxes you. And before that, she said, "You sing something to him." So I sang something a cappella to him. And um, he was, uh, he was moved to tears. And as a result of that, he put me on the table and he did all his work, and it felt wonderful. And he brought me out and he said, "How was it?" And it was like beautiful. But towards the end, there was this large commotion. And he and his assistant, he had a local woman who was also a healer, working with her, and they left the room. I was still with my eyes closed. I heard everyone leave the room, the door closed, and they were whispering behind the door. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I wonder what they found out about me. You know, they had to have a private session to decide how they're going to tell me this. Well, that's what they were doing. They were having a private session about how to tell me this, which was a wonderful thing. And so they came back in, and then he's looking down at me on the table, and he's looking, so how was it? And he had this smile on his face. I said, I described some things and what I had seen, and he was nodding in a way like, well, you haven't heard anything yet. Wait till I tell you this. He said, well, I had, my guides came through, and they want me to tell you that you have this gift, and you have this gift that needs to be developed, and you have this ability to bring in the energies from the cosmic realm and to heal people. And he says specifically what they want you to do is to sing before a group of people that my assistant will guide you as to who those people are. And she set it up in her home. She brought people that would be very open-minded to this sort of thing.
Mhm.
And he said, so you just need to open your mouth and start singing. There's no accompaniment, there's no melody. It's just making sounds, and you will be guided as to what to do. And the purpose of this was to activate the pineal gland. And he says, people in this community where we are, which is in Fairfield, Iowa, he said they're ready for this. So you need to do this for them. So he said, so are you willing to accept this, mission, almost as it were, will you accept it? And I looked at her, and I looked at him, and I looked over at her, and I said, yeah, I guess I should. And so then it was after that they set up actually three separate meetings. And I was nervous about it because normally you rehearse, and you have a pianist, and you just sing. And that's all I did.
Surrender.
Yes. And so I did it for, maybe 15 minutes, making these tones and sounds and vowels, different pitches, no words, no foreign languages, no English, nothing, just sounds. And then we asked the people what they experienced, and people had beautiful experiences of seeing things, hearing things that weren't there, that were beautiful. It's just being transported to a better
Mm.
realm of peace and joy. And so it was from there. That was in 2011. Yeah, that was in 2011 that I started that, and
Mm.
so I continued to do it. We had this small little cafe in town called the Crop Circle Cafe, and it is where I did my singing once a week, and I sang for maybe 50 people every week, and all these different
Mm.
people from our community would come and listen, and they had beautiful experiences. And
Of course they did. Yeah.
yeah, so then it was. I think Denny came back into town in 2012, and I went to go see him again because I wanted to see how I was doing with everything, and give me a spiritual checkup, and then he told me that it was important that we go to this. Do you remember on 12, 12, 12, there was this convergence?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do. I
It was
remember.
25 years from the one that happened in the 80s, Cosmic Convergence. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But this was the next one, which was in in 2012. And
Yes.
so there was a special place in south of here that in Arizona, not in Arizona, it's in Arkansas. And there is a huge amount of crystals in the ground in Arkansas. And there was this big conference there that was organized by many spiritual people in this country to have big conferences on 12, 12, 12.
Wow.
And so we went down there. Denny and Paul, you remember they were Paul Bando. He was good friends with Denny. He's been to the Casa many times. They went down there on the conference, but we just kind of tagged along, and we went and we climbed up this mountain. It was 2,000 feet high. It was beautiful, and I sang on top of the mountain. And there's huge amounts of crystals in the ground. So I'd seen Denny afterwards, and he said, as a result of you being there, it's important that you go experience the most powerful place with crystals, which is in Abidjania.
Exactly.
And so I've been starting to hear a little bit talk around the dinner table with them about going to the Casa, and I kept hearing the word current and the entity this and the current that and all these things. So I was getting familiarized with all the words that are used there. And I was thinking, this sounds interesting. And and so Denny said, you need to go there. And so he said it would help finalize your connection to this, healing process that you have as a result of connecting with these entities, and you need to go. So
Mhm.
I thought about it, and it was in 2013 that we started talking about it seriously, and so I think I ended up in there probably May, May or June. That's we ended in
Excellent.
2013, and that's how we arrived there. We didn't come with a guide, but Paul had been there many times, and as a result, it was a wonderful, wonderful trip. And you were talking about hearing me for the first time when I was invited to sing, and I remember seeing you come out of the current. You were doing your guided meditations in the current, and I remember I was invited to sing. I think it was
Mhm.
Vinicius who Vinicius was. Um, he said. He said, "Why don't you?" Someone suggested that I sing in front of the big hall,
It was
and
amazing.
Vinicius said he looked at me and he was very doubtful that I could sing. Um, so he said, "How do I know you're going to sing and you're not going to embarrass me or something to that effect?" So um, I was just waiting out there in front of large groups of people, just waiting to go in. So I just started to sing the first couple of bars of Ave Maria, and he said, "Okay, let's go." So we walked around the back, and he introduced me in Portuguese, and I started to sing.
Amazing.
And I remember seeing you come out of the current and looking up at me
I'll
as I
never
was
forget
singing.
it.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience, and um,
It was so
what,
high. The energy was so you raised the energy of that whole casa, actually, the entire casa and the current to a very different level. It was very, very high energy. I was astonished because I was looking at you and you were heart and soul. I mean, I'll never forget. That's one of the unforgettable moments of my work, my volunteering in the Casa, and I just was blown away. I going back into the current, I didn't even know what to say to anybody because they all heard it as well, and they knew because they were eyes closed and they were lifted up. And people said it to me afterwards that they were literally lifted by your voice, and they could hear it loud and clear. And you sung unaccompanied. There was no. It was just your voice. It was amazing. It was incredible. It was godly. It was from God.
yeah, I did feel that it was a little difficult because they couldn't turn the music off, and
Yes.
they said, yeah, I don't remember her name, beautiful woman with long black hair. It would
Luciana, yeah, she's lovely.
Luciana, that's right.
Yeah,
She looked so saddened that she couldn't. She just kept saying, "No, I'm sorry. It, it's coming from in there, and we don't have access to turn it off." So I just had to, because I'm a trained musician, I had to just, ignore those other, tempos
And
and those other
rise above it
pitches.
all, you
Yeah.
know.
So that's what happened, and it was a very interesting experience for me hearing these sounds come back at me. So it was as if I was witnessing the whole process as it was going out, that I
Mm.
wasn't really involved in it. It was just coming out of me, but not coming from me somehow. It was a witnessing process, very high separation. In the Vedic philosophy, it's called cosmic consciousness, where you're separate from your activity. You're witnessing.
Well,
So that's what I was experiencing, and it was wonderful to see the people. They were all watching me very carefully. Um,
I
and
saw
so
them.
each year, as I came back, I would sing again, um, and it was uh, it was such a blessing. I mean, there was just so many people there. People
um,
spilling out into the courtyard.
everywhere.
Yeah, it was
How many times
um,
did you come all together? You were there quite a
five
few times.
five
5.
times. Yeah,
Wow.
came
And every time
13,
you
12.
sang.
Yeah, but I think the first time in 13, I didn't know that you could sing in front of the grand hall. I just
Yes.
was it was just no one told me that. But in 14, I did. So and came in 14, 15, 16. We skipped 17 and we came in 18. And then
Wow.
um, so it was each time it was so wonderful to offer, what I had to people, even though they were at a powerful place of healing. I mean, clearly I had something to add as a result of me being uplifted by this energy that's there. I was
Wow.
able to add, more energy and kind of recycle it and recycle it and give it out like that.
It was pouring out of you
It was beautiful. Yeah.
and elevating everybody. I mean, it was really amazing. It's very hard to describe because I couldn't believe my ears. And that's when the first time I put my head around the corner and oh my God, I was transfixed. But I also noticed, as I said earlier, faces of the people, you elevated them too because people were transfixed. Nobody that was talking in the back, everybody was just, with their mouths open because there was something bigger than your voice coming through. Like there was a consciousness. It was resonating with the crystals all over the casa underneath us. It was so high, the energy. I really found it, and I used to be in my bare feet a lot, and that really had to ground me. I mean, I felt really transported, is the word.
Yes. That's a perfect word, and everybody uses that same word. They
Mhm.
transported to somewhere they don't know where, but it was beautiful. And I've been hearing that word transported for more than 10 years when I see
Wow,
individuals. It's uh,
it's a
it's
gift.
it's a gift. I mean, I just feel so blessed to be able to be given a voice that is very pleasant to hear. And then on top of all of this, you've got this additional support from the spirit realm, the cosmic realm, the singing spheres, pushing all this out through my voice. And sometimes I sit there
Unique.
and I think, hmm, hmm, what's that?
It's actually unique because I have never in my life, and I've been to many, many concerts and I've seen many, many people sing. I was even at Andre Bocelli and I found him fabulous in Brasilia. He was in a very, very big stadium. But I was right beside you in that small casa place, and that you were much more powerful And I'm not comparing you to him. He's got his own thing going on, but you were really present, and there was this divine presence pouring out of your being. It was your spirit that was coming out, more than physical voice of it. I mean, many people went up on the stage and sang or played instruments, but you were a vessel of the divine presence, if that makes sense. I mean, I couldn't even begin to explain to anybody because I was in awe. I was really blown away by what you were doing. And that's why on one of your visits, I actually went to see you in one of the Prasadas, Luz Divina, because I
Hmm.
really wanted to sit and talk with you about how you were affecting me and others, because people were coming into the cafe also and in the Casa were saying, "Who is that guy? And what happened?" Like they it was a cosmic experience, and yet nobody could put their finger on how powerful you were, but not ego. When we were talking about the ego, it's not egotistical. It was just you were singing from your core of your soul. I've never heard anything like it. And I played you earlier today, and like I said, I was transported again today, and I was so excited to talk to you today because I'm in Ireland now, and I listened to you in the room there, and I just thought, oh my God, it's so. I close my eyes, and it's amazing what you are producing. I don't know how, or it comes from the divine spark within us,
Yeah, it
definitely.
is. It is, and it's interesting that oftentimes I don't get feedback from people, and I think maybe I don't think I would get unbalanced if I were to hear um, encouragements and like that, like you're describing here. I don't think that would happen to me, um, but I don't normally hear what people experienced, and sometimes it's because people don't know what to say. They they're completely. Um, there was one time there was a there's a we have a liberal Catholic church here in Fairfield, and there was someone there that knew me, and she brought a whole group of people to hear me sing at the crop circle many years ago, and she brought a visiting bishop of that church, and this man he heard me sing, and after I sang for 30 minutes, I noticed everyone just starting to leave. And so I talked to her. I said, "Well, how was it for him? What did he think?" And she said, "He's never had an experience like that before. He has no idea what to say to you." So it was, um, so I get a lot of that kind of thing where people just, I guess my mother would call that expression dumbfounded. It's a very Catholic kind of expression in my family, dumbfounded.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I know it's a great word. Two words.
uh, but so that you telling me this, that 12 years later, that people were experiencing these things, I had no idea that I was touching people. Oh, every now and then, one person out of 1,000 would come up to me and say, "That was really beautiful," or something like that. Um, but most people wouldn't. And I think some of them may have even been felt like they couldn't approach me. And I don't know. It would have been helpful to me. But it's nice to hear it at least at some point in your life that you have this effect, and it still works.
You're on the right track.
But it keeps me humble. I know it's from God, and I say the same thing as Medium Joao says. I don't heal anyone. I don't create all these beautiful effects. God does, and it's just me, this creating this high energy, and people just it's their self. It's their natural self, and they're experiencing it. They're just allowing all those things to just leave, and they just transcend into this wonderful field of peace.
And it's egoless, like when I was doing the prayers in the first current room, when I started first, because I was a stand-up comic and an improviser, there was a certain amount of ego attached to it, because I was learning. But as time went on, the same thing, it was what was working through me. I surrendered, I learned to
Mhm.
surrender, and I just would leave the prayers on one side. And occasionally I just lift up the prayer book, and whatever it opened at was the perfect prayer to say at that time. So the more I surrendered, the ego gets more and more deflated, which is really part of the teaching
Mhm.
of the human condition.
Right.
And I during COVID, the same thing happened. Every time I put my hand out, the right music would come, the right prayer. I think when you surrender, and at the beginning, I mean, some people came up to me and said, well, that was a really good performance. And I thought, oh, I took my ego was bruised, and then as I started to realize I need to really surrender. And every time I went into that room, I learned to surrender and said, you take it from here. I am handing this over to God, the
Mhm.
sacred trinity of innumerable names, and
Mhm.
you lead this current
Yeah.
because I am just a vessel in your hands.
Right.
And the same with these podcasts. I mean, it was kind of a download, and I'm just guided. I just thought a few weeks ago, and I was looking at your channel, and I said, I must ask Greg, would he do it? Because I wasn't sure. And I know that you had, such a profound effect on a lot of people. I mean, your voice still, I could still hear it. I mean, I could, and you played me that little actually it was mind blowing as well, where you sang to me the Joao. And it just brought me back to exactly the same profound depth of consciousness that I felt when you sang in the Casa.
Mhm.
It's God in action.
Yeah.
That's what I feel it is. And hard to describe as well. So you have this incredible gift that you have developed, and you're still going strong, right
Yes.
through all of this. It's there, it's your life, it's your mission, really,
Mhm.
and you're sharing this healing energy with everyone, it's very healing, it's very calming and peaceful and soothing. When I was listening to it there an hour ago in the room, I just felt tranquility because there's so much chaos in the world, and I don't watch the news or anything. But I just sat and closed my eyes, and the sun was beaming in through the window. It's a lovely day here. And I just felt so peaceful. It's like a gift of this shower, this meteor shower of peace and harmony, which is really what we're all looking for permanently
Yes,
on Earth
exactly.
in the human condition. And we don't get it very often. So you have imparted that to me, in particularly me, but I'm sure other people who may not have been able to express it felt that way too.
Yeah.
And maybe you're afraid to approach it because they probably thought you were some sort of really big star. Can I have your autograph? you know?
Yes. Um, yeah, the ego, I don't think of it in terms of crushing. Think of it in terms of expanding to be infinity, to the unboundedness of the whole universe, expanding rather than the small ego, but unbounded ego, which is
Lovely.
nothing self-centered. It's infinite, it's unity, it's all that is. So
Very
when I do
lovely.
sing, I know I I can feel this energy coming out of my heart chakra. So I've always felt that, it was coming from the heart chakra, is sending out love. And as I always say, love is the currency of the universe, and love is the language of the universe, and love is all there is, and it is through love that we grow. And
And I always say the Casa is the house of love where the medicine is love,
yeah,
because love is the glue. God's love is the glue that holds us all together. And I think we're all called there for a reunion because we certainly know each other from lifetimes. I always felt every single person who came into the Casa, I was connected to them
yes,
instantly, but also it was God's love bringing us all together in a reunion in the Casa. And I think it's great that we're having this conversation now after, the drama, the medium's drama, and then COVID. And, it was really, the world really kind of shut down and people got very afraid. I think it's really great that we are now expanding once again without fear. I mean, all the angels,
hmm,
when they appear to everyone, they just say, be not afraid,
right,
and I, um, fear is the thief of our peace anyway. So I think that there's a great fearlessness among many of the sons and daughters of the Casa, particularly, when we're talking here now, and many people who have agreed to talk, the other podcasts were fabulous, and everybody is different. There's room for everybody in God's choir. And your story is completely different than the last story that was told. And this brings us closer together because we are like licorice all sorts, and we're learning from each other even still, even though a lot of us may never go back to the Casa, or there was a curiosity about where did everybody end up after the pandemic. Some people came back and it was great to see them, and others said, "Oh, I'll try and get back," and whatever, they might have passed on or whatever. But it's just this bond that we have together that is so strong, not only in this lifetime, I feel it's lifetimes, and these podcasts are just bringing it all together because you have described, your mother just saying you're going to go far with your voice. So you are. We're now in 2025, and we're discussing how we have changed the world together. I mean, your voice has changed people's lives, and um, it's love. At the end of the day, it's the love we have for each other. And also, the people who came to the Casa, I learned very quickly because I'm from a fairly big Irish family that it's the people who push your buttons are who are your teachers. So I learned
mm,
to pay attention more to them because they were the ones who really made me grow,
we had something to say to you.
Yeah, because, it was like, it was mothering really. And yeah, if you push your buttons, immediately an alarm bell would go off and I go, right, I'm ready for this lesson. And I would try to
Mhm.
be humble. Well, humor was a great deflector for me because sometimes I was afraid of letting people know, that I was the little girl inside, the inner child was sometimes a bit fearful, and it was quite daunting in the casa in the beginning. But I was a warrior. I came with my sister and I really wanted her to be healed physically. I thought it was a physical healing place. I didn't realize there was other levels of healing.
Yeah.
So I learned so much in those first few years from 2003. And to this day, I mean, I only left the Casa in May, and now there's another level of consciousness happening at the Casa, which is hard to describe. But it's a beautiful upgrade. I think we're being really shifting upwards into another dimension. I don't like to
Mhm.
put figures on it or names, but it's it's where we're going. It's home. It's like there's times when you're in the current in the casa, there might be only 10 or 15 people, but it's so high. The energy is amazing. and the waterfall is amazing. The crystal beds, sure, I have to be nearly peeled off them. I have to hold on to the walls to get out of there. And you know, I just find the energy really, really different. And yet it's a cosmic force that is growing and it's
Mhm.
way ahead of the rest of the world where I've been. I mean, I've been to places of pilgrimage, but there's something, I think it is the crystals are attracting a lot of beings and a lot of love light. The sun is shining a lot of the time. And I think the crystals, one time I was coming back from the waterfall and the people I was with went on ahead. I was walking. And just for, I think, like 5 minutes, it seemed like an awful long time. The veil was lifted, and right in front of me was, remember the song by Paul Simon, Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. I was walking on diamonds, and they were sparkling, the crystal energy. So I kept thinking to myself, I'm hallucinating. I am actually hallucinating here because I was walking in a field, walking up the waterfall road near the Casa, and it was just blinding diamonds on the path. And I'm walking on them and I'm hearing them crunching under my feet. And I kept rubbing my eyes and stopping and thinking this is gotta go away. But it lasted ages. I mean 5 minutes is an awful long time. And I that happened after all of the drama in the Casa and during COVID. So I thought to myself, oh my God, this is the energy of heaven. I mean, it was, and I was so amazed. I didn't tell anybody about it for quite some time. And then I mentioned it to one or two people, and they were like, they got it. I mean, you can't just start saying stuff like that to people. But I really feel they lifted the veil to show me what is
Mhm.
beyond this physical dimension. And I was
Mhm.
so grateful and so happy and like what, different stages of evolvement, like listening to you in the Casa and the experiences we had in the Casa. I mean, sometimes they really blew our minds, I mean, our small little minds that are controlling us. But I really feel there's something massive happening in Abidjania, but it's everywhere. The Casa is inside of us, and I'm in Ireland now, and I'm really feeling the Casa. It's not a physical place. It seems to be within us.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how I
no,
feel.
it's a beautiful experience. Um,
Amazing, really.
so I could describe this event for 2016 on Medium Joao's birthday. It was June 24th, 2016,
Mm.
and
St. John's Day,
yeah.
the fires.
So I think prior to that, I was talking to Norberto, and he said, "You need to sing for Medium Joao on his birthday." Um,
Mm.
so um, I said, "I don't know. There's so many people that want to see him, and he probably wouldn't want to, you know, you know, see me." But so I think current just ended, and for some reason I wasn't in current, but your door opens at the end of current to let people out. So I kind of just walked in as people were leaving, and he was at the back of the hall, and he was starting to come in back down through your door to the entranceway. He decided to go that way, and I saw Noberto at the back, and he was waving his hands like this, and he said, "Sing for him, sing for him." And I said, and he kept doing it. So finally, the medium, he was just a few feet away, and I stepped in front of him, and I said in my poor Portuguese, what did I say? I said, "Eu cantar Ave Maria a você." I don't know how good that was, but I
Good.
think he understood what I was saying.
You did.
So he he said, okay. So I'm sitting, just 2 feet away from, standing 2 feet away from, and I noticed at that point he closed his eyes, and he kept
Mm.
them closed until the first half a second of the first ah, and then he opened them, and he had this big smile on his face, and his eyes were just watching me. And so I can play that clip. It's only they didn't. There was some woman there with a cell phone, and she illegally recorded it and gave it to me afterwards. So it's a precious thing. There were plenty of other people you'll see recording it, but I never got that one. But maybe some of those people have that, and they got it from the beginning. So let me
Let
try to
us
share.
know, to all of you guys out there and gals, if you have any of Greg's uh, any performance, and we'll publish them. I'll send them to you, and you can see if you want them published,
Okay,
because this is beautiful. Now, what we're about to witness is really special.
okay. Let's see. I'm going
Get
to.
ready. Yeah, we did it before, and
Here we go.
it really is something.
Okay. Um, what happened? Meeting.
It's a lovely still as well.
Um, yeah, I don't know why it hasn't started. Let me try it again.
Oh yeah, because we had
What
it
the?
earlier.
Yeah, we did. We'll get there. It
Of
just,
course we will. It is such a treat. I just love it. I thought it was so. I'm sure you will be able to.
uh, there's just different buttons here that I'm not really sure what to do with them.
Yeah,
Um, I'll try it again.
yeah. I think the last time we played it, it it played beautifully the last time. But yeah,
Oh, meeting.
you're like me. I'm always experimenting, but it is well worth it. When we do get it right. Come on, entities.
Okay.
Everybody is with us always.
Okay. Let's, it just, why?
I don't know. Yeah. We didn't tape it. I
I,
think you had a play button on it. Or I
yeah, I
wonder,
know. And it's coming up very small right now, and I don't know why not. I'm
and I don't
picking.
think I can do anything from here. But
Oh, wait a
it
minute.
was
Maybe. Wait,
St.
there's.
Clair's Day on Monday, the 11th of August. So she is the patron of computers and TV. So we'll ask her to help us. Come on, St.
Okay.
Clair.
Yes,
She did a
please
lot of
help.
work from St. Clair of Assisi. Yeah, and also there's so many beautiful entities. August is great for.
All right. So you can
And
see that, and
yeah, it was a
so how? And then
really
it just stopped and just disappears on me.
wow. I wonder
Oh,
before when
here we are. Here we are. Can you see it?
Grazia
yes, I can hear it,
plena,
see it.
Ave Dominus, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Obrigado, João. Obrigado. Obrigado. Obrigado.
Okay.
And you had a white rose. He sure was talking in your ear. And we said before, that's the entity, that he was in entity. You could see his eyes bulging out of his head. He
Yeah,
was
they were
so
both.
taken, by the he was swept up in that love, because it was such devotion. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of film, and thank you. I was not expecting that at all. I just, it's so touching. It's just priceless. It gives the essence of the Casa. It's in the Casa, and it's in the current, which is, everybody on his birthday, everybody was going mad. It's very hard to pin him down on his birthday like that. He was really taken by your voice, you know. It's the God particle, or the God consciousness. What an amazing gift that you have that, and also to give him that on his birthday, because it's the love that comes from your voice, and the divine is speaking through your voice, literally singing him happy birthday, and I think it's one of the best gifts you can give someone, It's
The
not a
divine
physical
singing to
present.
the divine.
And,
Good.
you were in the right place. The entities did that. There's no coincidences and no accidents. You're meant to be in that moment. And I've seen the entity, the medium actually crying as well. And I've also seen the tears of Dom Ignacio, the Library Master Cristo, the tears of Christ. And he was very touched. I mean, his eyes are literally the side view of he was just taken and by, you know, drinking in that energy, and he was an entity, and he was an entity a lot of the time. And as the years got closer, was that 2015?
16.
16. I think 2018, he was struggling a little bit because there were so many people and he was getting older and he was less accessible. It wouldn't have happened probably that year, but he not was only not tiredness, it was more he had become so popular that it was becoming so hard to control the crowds in the Casa that it was quite uncomfortable for everyone. But for him, I can't imagine. He just kept showing up and he was tired, but he kept going. And I'm grateful to him for bringing us all together because, like I said earlier, and I always say it, without that man saying yes to his mission, we would not be sharing this God
Hmm.
consciousness right now. And I'm eternally grateful to him. Um, Always. And I light a candle for him, as you know, every day, and his family and the sons and daughters of the Casa, because we're part of something really extraordinary. And we got to witness uh, an incredible, I mean, so many once in a lifetime. And we were obviously meant to be together in this lifetime and creating this healing energy. And so many people were healed, mind, body, and spirit. My sister didn't get the physical healing that everybody was expecting, throwing away the wheelchair, like, or the
Hmm.
crutches or whatever. And because I thought that's what we were going out there for. I didn't know there was levels of healing. I still don't know very much about it, but I know a little bit more. But I thought that she would walk and that we'd go just leave and say, thanks a lot. Here's the donation and get on with our lives, just go back to being party animals. So I just thought to myself recently, she's not, at the end of this month, I think it's 9 years since she passed on. And um, she was the one who brought me to the Casa, well, Padre Pio. We had that story before, but and I'm still alive, funny enough. So you never know the plans that the Creator has for us, and we can share these divine moments together. I mean, that is an extraordinary piece of film. It's quite precious for all of us who know the Casa well and experienced the miracles, literally, that were happening there on all levels. I mean, everything is a miracle, you know. And that opportunity to be able to sing to a man who had lent his body for the healing of so many incarnate and disincarnate beings for all his life. When he was 13, 14, he incorporated King Solomon for the first time. And now he's 82. So his life has been dedicated to that mission. And for you to be able to stand there and lovingly pour out that, it doesn't get any, gifts don't get any better than that for everyone.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that, Greg.
Yeah,
That's,
it's a beautiful. I've never shared it publicly like this before. I felt it was um, precious private moment, but now I felt like it
now,
was time for it to be
yeah,
shared
now
because
is the
that's what
time
we're talking.
for for all the walls are coming down. Um, everybody is sorry. Oh my God. Yeah, just sorry about that. I just, yeah, goodness. Um, yeah, I just think it's time for us to, all of the veils are coming down, if you like. There's a whole um consciousness happening where we're having more and more visitations or more and more um encounters with the other side, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's time for us, not all of us. I mean, we're all going in the same direction. Some of us are going faster than others, because we are quite primitive, really, in our, language, as I was saying, it takes us a long time to say anything. Um, and a lot of our language is obsolete. And, um, silence is a prayer. And always there was written on the walls of the casa, but everybody was chatting and talking. There was a lot of noise in the casa, but still the healings were happening. And um, there's a lovely prayer in the silence of our hearts. God speaks to us. So when we quieten down, we are open to receive. And I personally feel God is singing through you, and you are imparting this healing energy to everyone around you. I mean, that just little piece there, you could see the transfixation. I mean, I'm transfixed by it, and I feel it's healed me. I mean, it's a healing vibration. And I think we're moving into a time when there will be less noise. There's so much noise in the world, and we're seeking more to be. I don't want to join a monastery or anything, but I used to do a lot of Vipassana. I was thinking about going back and doing that for, 10 days of complete silence because it really elevates your spirit. And then service, in love and service, the words of Dom
Hmm.
Ignacio on the walls of the Casa. They are, you can serve Vipassana as well, which I love doing because then noble silence, you only speak when you must. Because the less said, the better. My father used to say to me, very wise, his nickname was Solomon, and my second name means daughter of the wise man. So we were laughing about that, and he used to always say to me, um, he was a journalist and a very good one at that, very discerning. And he said, "Go on, if you're going to say anything, say nothing at all." And I never understood it until I
Perfect.
became an adult. And he used to go out fishing in the middle of the lake that I was just swimming in earlier on the boat on his own. Because when I went out with him with the oars and I'd be chatting, and he'd say, just please, I'm fishing. We're meditating here, And it'd be getting dark in the evenings, and I got bored. But he would go out on his own, him and the stars coming down, just fishing. I mean, something as simple as that made him so unique and peaceful and a great dad. He just valued the most important things. He taught us a lot just by his actions.
Yeah, silence is powerful.
Yeah, and it's rare in this day of so much. Um, well, the kids now, I mean, we are lucky. We grew up on the streets and we were out till, it gets dark here at 11 o'clock at night in the summer, and we were out just running around the streets. I mean, it was a safe place to be. But now the kids are all on their phones, and it's harder, and I don't want to seem like a dinosaur or whatever. I mean, I do use phones, as you know, I forgot to turn it off. But I find that the children are really challenged now, and it's a very hard to navigate the world. I see a lot of children struggling, and you know, um, that's why I'd like to really do some counseling course here, so I can actually impart something to the kids without dictating to them, just listening to them, because people aren't really listening to each other as much as, the children should be seen and not heard. I don't agree with that. My grandmother used to say that. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
you
I've
know,
heard the same thing in my family. But
I
I think
know.
this
And,
is very good. You should pursue that.
yeah, I think it's time to really use our gifts to help with people processing the world as it is now, which is an entirely different place than it was even 20 years ago. When I went to Abidjan first, there was no internet. There wasn't even a mobile phone. I mean, I didn't have a phone there for, a couple of years, a good few years, because it was Bob and Diana who came out and handed me an iPhone 4. I'll tell you how long ago that was. And said, we think you should have a mobile because we can't get in touch with you at all. You don't have a phone. You don't have... And I said, okay, but I kind of never really. I used to record um, my talks that I gave to people. And I actually still have the phone here, and I must download them because a lot of that was like the history of the Casa and the history of the entities and the history of a lot of people's experiences, because the talks that I was giving, I almost felt like I was being used as a mouthpiece as opposed to it being my story per se. I was imparting a lot of the work of the Casa, and many people ask me, oh, what's medium draw like? And I said, I don't really know because I was only talking to the entities. And like I said before, I talked to the medium twice as a person, which is, and that's crazy. I asked him one time, can I get a picture with him and Saint Rita, my little statue of Saint Rita? And he said, yeah, sure, and that was one time. And then another time I was just talking to him about some other personal thing, and he was completely different than the entities, and every entity was different. So it was an enigma, I mean, you didn't know you knew the mannerisms. So as I was approaching him, I knew it was Dr. Oswaldo Cruz, or I knew because his hair used to puff up like Dr. Oswaldo Cruz in the picture, you know, and I knew it was Dom Ignacio because of the glazed eyes, and if he got out of the chair, he would limp. And I knew it was Jose Valdivino because he'd always put his hand out to you. So every one of the entities had their own personalities. And Jose Penteado, who was a lieutenant in Dom Ignacio's army, St. Ignatius of Loyola's army, he killed a lot of people too. I mean, the entities weren't perfect. He
Hmm.
used to talk 10 to the dozen, like 20 minutes, half an hour to one person. The lines would stop.
Yeah.
We'd be there for hours. So,
Yeah, those are the times when current is 6 hours long. I had a couple of those.
oh yeah, and we were really complaining, but we were supporting the work, and that's when the real lessons came in. How much endurance, like how much can a koala bear? And people putting their hands up saying, "I want out," and I'm like, okay. I mean, first of all, I was very Germanic because I'm a Capricorn, so I was kind of the leader of the pack. So I was kind of throwing my weight around in the beginning until I learned to be a little bit more easy on people because they'd say, God, you're kind of a bit rough around the edges. But then I got really softened up by the entities because they were like, don't take yourself too seriously. Nobody gets out alive. Like you're going to leave your body some of these days. So, and you're going to have to answer to your God. So just take it easy. They were full of wisdom and guidance. And it was an extraordinary experience for all of us because we met each other there and we met people from all walks of life. A lot of really impoverished Brazilians who inspired us because they had their operations and got back in the bus for 48 hours to go back to the bottom of Brazil or wherever they were living and recovering on the bus, and us complaining about 24 hours of silence to recover in our lovely clean sheets, beds, and they're all rocking around these bone rattler buses getting home. So we learned not to complain. And I think we learned so much that's uncalculable. You can't measure it. And I'm so grateful to meet, you and Carol, because Carol was there in the room when I went down to Ustavina, and you're a very loving couple and very open and warm, because this is mad Irish girl who's, sort of, a little bit off the wall. I was kind of not eccentric, but just very chatty, and I learned to sort of really mature a little bit, through talking to people like you because of your gift and how it just stopped me in my tracks. I was absolutely grounded on the ground, transfixed. And that was a brand new experience in this lifetime for me. So I had to find you and had to find out where you were, and I had to go and talk to you. I remember it was urgent for me to really be in that room with you guys. And we were there for a few hours talking, like we're
Yes,
talking now.
I remember that. That was room number 10, which was the smallest room. And I liked that fact that it was small. Carol had a bigger room, but I chose the monk room. And
Yes.
tiny little bed. You get up and you either have to go into the bathroom or you have to leave. There's not a whole lot of space.
I was sitting on the floor.
I remember you were sitting on the bed and we were there together. The three of us were just chatting about um, the experience of the Casa that week. It was
Yeah. And
it was
every week it was something new. And, um, it was an upgrade. We kept getting upgraded somehow um, to a higher level of consciousness. And our awareness levels were really being every operation I had three physical operations, two on my eyes and one scissors up the nose. Oh my God. But every time I must have had about 50 operations altogether. When the medium was there from 2003 to 2018. And every time I felt like I'd gone up another ladder of consciousness. Something else had fallen away. It was just peeling like an onion, taking all these
hmm
layers off me that didn't serve me anymore. And I became less attached to practically everything. It was a massive epiphany for me, to be there for that length of time and you as well, witnessing all of this. extraordinary. I mean, most people were saying, oh, he must have mincemeat in his hands, because he's pulling tumors out of people's bodies and throwing them on the floor, and Marcella, and I was picking up some of them too. I mean, we were doing a lot of service. I mean, I was a bit squeamish, but Marcella, the girl on the door, lovely Spanish girl, she was picking up bits of feckin' bodies everywhere. And it was a real thing, I could see it with my own eyes. I witnessed it, and I I didn't know what to expect. Psychic surgeon, you just don't know what's going to happen. But certainly, it was not your average life experience. I mean, a lot of people don't get to experience much of that. So,
Yeah, it's like you could someone, you just say you just graduated college. He says, so what are you going to do now? Well, I think I'll go Brazil and I'll assist a psychic surgeon in his healing work. That's different. That's your normal
to
work.
Brazil,
Yeah,
yeah, I
Brazil.
mean, but it brought us together, and for that, I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we have time for, Greg, because you really, playing that piece of video is just one of the highlights of this entire podcast experience so far. I mean, I don't know, 20 odd
Yeah.
people more. I really appreciate that because that's a beautiful sharing of it's precious. It's not, you don't experience that every day of your life. And many people go through lifetimes not experiencing
Well,
that
I'm glad you
moment
had a
of,
chance to see it because you brought new insights into it from your perspective of being there for nearly a quarter of a century and knowing what what it was. I felt like it wasn't the medium. And
yeah,
Norberto says you never know who you're talking to when you talk to medium Joao. He says most of the time you're not talking to the medium
exactly.
because he's such a great medium. Pe- People spirits pop in and out all the time. And so
All
that's
the
what I felt.
time. I mean, sometimes he didn't even drive his own car because he was not he was incorporated. It was not the medium. So you would know that if he pulled up at the cafe for a coffee or a chat, it was actually one of the entities you were talking to,
Yeah.
to my Joao. I mean, he had a great relationship with my Joao when we opened the cafe first, so he would regularly stop and he was being driven. So my Joao was actually talking to the entity. Um, and he was one of the first interpreters at the Casa, so he knew them
Mm.
um, personally and intimately. And also, I didn't speak Portuguese at the time. I had to learn it. So I would say, I'd be so excited saying, what did he say? Who was it? What entity? Because people used to ask me all the time. And as started to learn Portuguese, I would understand the mannerisms and then the language. And some of it was archaic. I mean, Dom Ignacio spoke differently, you know, than, some of the Jose de Fretes or, Dr. Fritz who worked through him because Dom Ignacio was 500 years ago,
Right.
and his turn of phrase would be completely different, even though it was in Portuguese. So that alone, something as simple as that, would give you great insights into history, and,
Hmm.
and dealing with people who are coming from, the 12th century or before that. I mean, King Solomon, when he incorporated, it was like you were frozen on the spot because it was fleeting, and yet I always felt like I was in a spaceship, and it was
Right.
very rare that he came through medium joao. And I understand in Germany or Switzerland, he ate the top of a glass and chewed it and swallowed it. And it was King Solomon. And Diego was there, and the glass is in the Casa to this day in a case with Saint Rita on top of it, because the medium was brought to the hospital in Europe, and examined because he swallowed the glass, and there was absolutely a complete and utter dematerialization of that glass, and there's a fair chunk missing out of it, and it just disappeared. So, I mean, go figure. I mean, that was in front of a lot of people. I mean, I heard it from Diego's mouth, and it happened. And I can see the glass, and I can see the piece that's missing out of it. And there's a little piece there that he didn't manage because they were trying to stop him chewing it because they thought, push your faith. He was like crunching a glass and no blood. I mean, it was insane. And the doctors were like, there's nothing in this man's stomach. There's no cuts. It was fine. It was grand. Don't try this at home. Okay. Big hug to Carol, who I love.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much, Grainne. This has been fun catching up
Yeah,
after many,
absolutely.
many
Catching
years.
up and also the novelty of the video as well is fantastic. And also just listening to you earlier. I'm going to listen to some more of you now this evening. And you will lull me to my celestial fields when I'm asleep in the room I was born in.
Yeah, at some point, I think we'll probably next year we're going to plan to come to the UK and possibly Sweden.
Wow. Good.
Uh,
I'll be around.
if you're going to be
I'm,
around, we might maybe we'll fly into Dublin and get a flight that way. Sometimes that's a better flight.
yeah, we'll work on that. Keep keep up to date. Now we're back in communication, which I'm really excited about. And I'll put in the bottom comments as well your YouTube channel so people can tune
Yeah,
into your
thank you.
wonderful work and also listen with the ears of the soul, because you are transported to somewhere else. Okay, Greg, I love you. And as I said, Carol, love her too. And thank you for this wonderful podcast.
Love from both of us. Bye bye.
Ciao.